Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us at the Halal in Travel Global Summit 2023 hosted by CrescentRating. Welcome to this session on the impact, opportunities, and challenges of AI tools like ChatGPT on destination management, marketing, and the local travel industry. I'm Fazal Bahardeen. I head CrescentRating and HalalTrip, and I'll be facilitating the discussion today. We are honored to have with us Enver Duminy, the CEO of Cape Town Tourism, visionary leader, I would say, responsible for promoting one of the world's, most beautiful and vibrant destinations, Cape Town. Enver has a very deep understanding of destination management, has been with Cape Town for probably more than 10 years, I assume, Enver, and has, some really good perspectives on the role of AI in shaping the future of our industry. Hopefully, with him, we will explore the various ways some of the AI tools are transforming destination management, marketing, as well as the challenges, these tools are, that we are going to face, as we go further in implementing these tools in our work processes and other aspects of marketing and destination management. So Enver, thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you again. Once again, we had you last year's event as well. It's always a pleasure to have you. How are you doing today?
Well, firstly, thank you again for the kind invitation. I must have done something right last time to be invited back. So, firstly, again, thanks for the opportunity. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. And I think early on when we were discussing, I was saying how much I miss Singapore and your team. So hopefully next time I can be there in person. But yeah, happy to share my thoughts and also our learnings around artificial intelligence, chatbots, virtual assistants, and kind of this new world that's been around for a couple of decades, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what ChatGPT has done sort of democratized the use of AI. It has been, the discussion on AI has been going on for, as you say, many years now. But all of a sudden, ChatGPT has sort of, made everybody aware of what AI tools can do. So I think let's get started on our discussion. The AI technology are really evolving, getting more sophisticated. We are confronted with ChatGPT, what it can do. It's probably a very beginning of what we are looking at. I mean, you have all these image creation tools like, Midjourney and all those, So what are the opportunities that you see, from a tourism, local travel industry? But let's start with opportunities. I mean, we have challenges and also the doomsday scenarios that people are talking about. But let's start with opportunities. How do you see it as an opportunity in terms of, enhancing the visit experiences and, bringing, benefit to the local communities as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, a very interesting discussion, and I think a great question to kick off things. So the way I see the opportunities for products, attractions, destinations, hotels, etc., is that we mustn't forget actually that AI has been around since the 50s, since the 1950s. So it's been around for almost 70 years, and even stuff like ChatGPT is about 10 years old. And I think it's, again, similar to things that, because it's given attention, it's gotten to a point of where it's marketable, accessible, and usable. Of course, the attention span goes to it. And then, of course, there's a hype around these things. So I think for us is that we need to be mindful that artificial intelligence has been around for forever. And the fact is that it's actually part of our daily lives. And sometimes we don't even know it. So when I look at artificial intelligence, let's start with those chatbots. A lot of people have been using that already. I mean, if you look at it from virtual assistants, sometimes on WhatsApps when governments engage with consumers or with citizens, they talk about using those platforms, even though it's rudimentary to a large extent, when you talk about kind of just menu-driven responses. That's artificial intelligence. That's just a database sitting behind a platform that is answering the traditional, what we call frequently asked questions, but in a faster way and sometimes in a smarter way. I think the difference that we're finding with today's chatbots and virtual assistants is the fact that it's using machine learning. And I think that's probably the area of contention is that the more questions it's asked, the smarter it's supposed to become, because it starts using all this information and it then has the ability to also search millions and billions of information from multiple sources. analyze that quickly, and respond almost in real time. And I think for us, that's the question, is always saying, how do we manage this? How do we control it? Because it feels like it's out of control, even though everything is designed by people. So, I mean, even today, you'll see it within a hotel, an airline, an operator, an attraction. You could be using that information for menus, what facilities are available at the hotel. If I want my dry cleaning done, and then they come and collect your dry cleaning, what people don't realize is actually sometimes that dry cleaning is being run completely by robots. So again, it's something that we don't see behind the curtain, but now I think we are beginning to peek behind the curtain with a lot more interest. And then, of course, for me, personalization. We kept talking about personalization probably 5-6 years ago around personalization, and we were thinking about email marketing as being personalized. But what we're finding now is that because social media and how people behave and what they like, they don't like, and what they tick and don't tick on social media is actually just sitting in databases. And all of that behavior is being analyzed. And what is happening through predictive modeling is that you're being served content that you kind of like or prefer, which is dangerous when you look at sometimes kind of how people manipulate that for, let's say, elections. There are those consequences. So we mustn't forget the fact that, personalization has been around. There are many tools that are using personalization that we use in social media as an example. But how we use it in travel is that we can make better recommendations of activities to do, food choices when it's halal, for an example. What are the nearest halal restaurants to me in a place where I assume, they don't have that available and I may have to travel somewhere. Also attractions, when are they open? What are the pricing? Can I book it now? So these things already exist. So for me, AI isn't something that just occurred with ChatGPT. It's things that we've been using every single day. And of course, I think where destinations are going to is around smart itinerary planning. So we see things like Google Trip, Expedia. These guys have been using algorithms, personalized itinerary builders, etc., to actually design things in a way by pulling data from, let's say, weather forecasts in an area, understanding what you like as far as attractions and experiences, packaging that for you, and also then using dynamic pricing because it knows your budget, and then serving this up to you in content that almost feels natural. But behind it all is just, algorithms that have been programmed by people. But I think, again, for me, the question is always around that machine learning. Is AI becoming smarter than us? And is it going to get to a point where we all are living in a matrix? I think that's always the area of concern.
No, I think, as you say, we have, AI has been there for a long time, but I think AI has been there for a long time, but it was more of a techie thing, more at the back end of, recommendation engines and all that. So it was there, but now ChatGPT has sort of made it, accessible for almost everyone, and everybody's excited. Now you can say, give me, you go to ChatGPT and say, give me a itinerary for Cape Town, and it will, within a minute, it will give you what to do, kind of thing. So I think it has really brought to the attention of the population of what these tools are able to do. And so from a travel perspective, Enver, has the use of AI and ChatGPT in particular, I think that's the main tool. I mean, of course, now we are almost every other day there are tens of tools coming up, can do many stuff. But how has the travel stakeholders reacted? What are they doing? How are they implementing things already in their workflows?
Another very good question. I think from a Cape Town perspective, there's still a fear and a misunderstanding of the opportunities around AI and chatbots in particular. I think to your point is that, yes, it's always been kind of left to the IT guys when they're playing with their tools, and it kind of doesn't get to the marketing stage, etc. So I think from a Cape Town perspective, when we look at chatbots like ChatGPT and how it's being utilized, it's not really being utilized to its full extent in tourism here. I think there are still some of the old rudimentary artificial intelligence systems like we have now, the basic chatbots, that is all predictive. So it's all completed answers to questions, and then still using menu-driven options to kind of do a selection. So it's no better than the old SMS or mobile phone messaging systems that we had. But however, they are trying to integrate that into the existing website platform or their app, in-house app that they may have. I think for us is that there's a lot of uncertainty around ChatGPT, especially when it comes to a brand and how it creates value for the organization, or is it just another fad that they have to add on and build and integrate that's going to cost them money without an ROI? So I think that's still the dilemma. But I think what you can already see is that the traditional concierge, the traditional visitor information center, they have been replaced long ago with Google. I mean, Google's been one of the best examples of artificial intelligence that's been around for decades. Is that the more questions you ask it, the more smart it becomes, and then it also then starts serving you things. We must also forget about the iPhone and Siri. People are utilizing those tools, and I think for me the concern is that sometimes Siri starts talking to you because she's listening to everything you're saying, even though you think she's off. And I think those are some of the concerns that we're seeing from daily use of technology and AI, and then sometimes the concern from business to adopt it, embrace it, and leverage it. But I think where we have started seeing people using AI tools is, for example, tourist guides. Translation is one of the biggest challenges for tourist guides globally. And tools like Google Translate, Microsoft Translate, and other translation apps that are available allows for a better form of communication, but it's still transactional. It's where you have to either say something and then it have translated and have repeated to someone else. It can't deal with dialects correctly. So people are trying to use some of the tools, but it's not yet at the extent of where you kind of use a ChatGPT to its full extent. And I think what we mustn't forget is ChatGPT is only as good in its response as the clarity of the question you ask. And you can ask the same question 2 or 3 times, you'll get different answers. The question is how, for me, is always, are you asking the right question? And how much can I trust that this answer I'm getting is authentic and accurate? And that always becomes where I think at the fundamental cause is trust. Trust of a system, trust of a person, and whether there's other unintended agendas when you are served that information. And I think, again, like I use that example of elections, is everything's going to come down to trust and asking the right question in order to get the right response. Yeah. So we haven't really seen its full implementation, but I think it's still early days. And like you said in your opening, is we're all still trying to figure this out. But it's here to stay, and we need to kind of figure out quickly as to how it's going to create value for our products and our destination.
No, I think so I think that brings me to the point. So how do you sort of are like destinations like Cape Town, because this is for real, we are facing this. We have a workforce probably who are not comfortable with it, but we have to make them comfortable, at the end of the day. So, is there some initiatives that the destinations are taking to sort of educate the all, take stakeholders and the staff, the teams, because they have to get on board fast.
Yeah. Hey, you're asking me lots of difficult questions. Where I was hoping I was going to have some clear answers, but I think in a nutshell, like I said, there's still because the adoption is not that big as yet, and we are going to need to figure it out. I think for us is the question is always as to, is this going to create value or more noise? Is always the fundamental question. And do we want to be the leader, or do we want to come in when kind of a lot of the issues have been resolved at a certain point? Yeah. Right. And I think that's always the level of maturity, whether you are a destination or even products within a specific segment of the travel and tourism value chain. And the way we look at it is that, visitor centers, and I'm going to use that example from a destination management perspective, is information centers used to have a specific role because that was before internet. People used to come into a destination and then they wanted information from a trusted source. Google came along and replaced that to a large extent. But what people found with Google is that they were trying to then, of course, generate revenue. And therefore, the question was always around, are you doing this for my best interest or for somebody else's best interest as an advertiser? And then you would look at the Visitor Information Center, which is actually independent. It's authentic and it's trusted by a traveler because of the destination marketing organization, who has no other interest except to make sure the visitor has an amazing time. And therefore, information centers still exist. But what they started doing is using technology to assist in that. So I think the fact that, the learning curve for us is that we are going to have to upskill and reskill our staff. Even if you're going to be building avatars and chatbots and virtual assistants, those teams are sitting with all the intellectual property about the destination. But what they have, which bots don't have, and I love both you and I in our kind of our naming there of you're still human and I'm not a bot, is that people and travel is still about connecting with other people. True. That's at the core of travel. And the minute you replace it with bots, it's going to take away the core DNA of why we are in the sector. So we are looking at reskilling. We are working and collaborating with, for example, a new institute that was created called the Artificial Intelligence Institute, trying to look at, training, understanding what this is, trying to demystify and dumbify artificial intelligence in a way that isn't seen as this matrix of badness, or when you're looking at deep fakes and all these other things, which are real concerns. But in understand, and I think, again, it's about education and awareness, and that's going to take time. There are, of course, going to be early adopters who are going to embrace it, and others are going to jump on the bandwagon because they see that success. But that's the normal course of any form of business where there are trends and fads and changes. So we're looking at reskilling, we're looking at awareness and education. And then we are also probably going to be trying to dip our toes in as the DMO ourselves into testing these things out. During COVID, as an example, what we did is we were looking at working with a Canadian artificial intelligence company in order to build an avatar that looked like a Cape Townian, that could speak like a Cape Townian, and would answer rudimentary questions about COVID, as an example. But again, that required the team to be able to populate the database, to maintain the database, and therefore we need to do an upskilling. So I think that as the technology evolves, our job as leaders is to make sure our teams are upskilled, reskilled into better opportunities that they could leverage and maybe even into other sectors. So it's incumbent on us to spot these trends, to understand its impact, especially when it comes to job security, and work with our teams to create a better organization for ourselves, better destination, and of course, create more opportunities for these teams to embrace and upskill their qualifications, their skills, their experiences in a whole new world. If we don't do that, it's then our fault that they are left behind, and if they don't have jobs. So I think this requires an all of business, all of society, and all of government approach to embracing and evolving by looking after our people.
Enver, you said you had an AI institute. Is it at the Cape Town tourism level, or is it at the government Cape Town government level that you have this institute now?
It's a fairly new institute. It's at the national level. It's still being kind of put together. I think in response to this. But again, what we're doing is that we're reaching out to people we hear about and find out about. We do have what they call an IT incubator called UVU Africa. It used to be called the Cape IT Initiative. They do sit on my board. I represented the chairperson of that institution. And again, this is, as we learn, we're beginning to also find new partnerships where we can also learn faster instead of us trying to go through this blindly. Work with experts in a space to understand its impact, and then how we can create these opportunities. And I think that's incumbent on everybody. It is here to stay. It's going to morph. It's going to change. And understanding that, I think, is the first step into being able to take the next step, whether that's leveraging it for commercial opportunities or just kind of assisting your business in saving costs or making sure the visitor experience is seamless.
You touched on a little bit earlier, but Google came into the picture and all that. And have you tried, asking ChatGPT about, Cape Town and give me a itinerary and because we have come across many times, many people have done, you ask it a question, they have this prompt engineering, but still gives a wrong answer, sometimes biased answers as well. So how do you manage that from a destination's point of view to make sure that when people ask about Cape Town, I really don't know how that works though. but how has it been, asking ChatGPT about Cape Town?
Well, funny enough, I haven't really asked ChatGPT about Cape Town, probably because I assume I know enough about the destination. Maybe I'll do that after this chat. It'll be interesting, and I'll probably share it with you offline as to what it tells me. But I think to your point is that ChatGPT is still learning. It's whatever access it has to other data sources is what it will analyze, and it will then share in a very rudimentary. It's like, just ask me a question, I give you a response. It doesn't try to ask you other questions before it formulates something. So it's more about the immediacy of giving you something of what it thinks. I think where it is going to start getting and evolving, from what I understand, is it's probably going to ask you a few additional questions of clarity, and then making sure it's got access to those sources. So when it comes to itineraries, it's probably going to look at what's available. Let's say if it's got access to Expedia, comments that other travelers have made in the database, but it may not have access, let's say, to Cape Town Tourism's information and data, which is far richer, far deeper, and actually knows products in real time. And I think that's going to be probably the competitive edge is, again, how do we trust the source? How valid is it? And when last was it updated? Because even ChatGPT, from what I remember when I kind of played with it a little bit, was the fact that it tells you it's only got information up to a certain point in time. And I think the more people start using it, the more it's going to start getting smarter. But I think that's always going to be part of whoever is responsible for ChatGPT and the sources. It needs to be credible. I believe that there needs to be some form of disclaimer on the use of ChatGPT. If we are using it as businesses, destinations, and anything else, we need to have a disclaimer that says the source is ChatGPT. The source is a human in Cape Town who's got 20 years of experience and is probably one of the best ambassadors for the destination. We're going to need to separate the kind of non-human from the human in disclaimers. Otherwise, what we are going to assume is that we think we are being smart and saving money using these chatbots. And at the end of the day, it may even create the wrong impression, provide the wrong information that, again, it will have no consequences for, because it will have a disclaimer for you to utilize it. So I think for us, regulation, disclaimers, and making sure we can separate the human from the non-human is going to be critical in that. I think also, using video connectivity is going to be critically important instead of just text. Because I think text, people assuming it's a human, it's because it can get better tone, it understands dialect, and all the other little isms of language. But when you start talking to a human, you look into somebody's eyes, you hear the voice, the pictures, etc. I'm sure deep fakes are getting better at doing that. But I think we also need to be able to demonstrate the difference between the credibility of a human versus the source of data that comes from a chatbot or a virtual assistant or anything else that's artificial.
Yeah. So I think, I thought maybe we should have gone live to ChatGPT now and ask about Cape Town. That would have been good. What are the best places to go in Cape Town? You should have done that. Yeah, didn't plan out that. But I
think what we could possibly do is that we maybe want to run a competition between ChatGPT and a human, because, like you said, ChatGPT has limitations. So if I had to ask ChatGPT, tell me what amazing Cape Town product opened yesterday, where my likes is this, that, and the other, its limitation is going to be either the date of 2021. It's not going to have that of being part of that journey of the product. And I think that's the thing that we need to understand is that as it matures, the biggest challenge is it's humans. ChatGPT is driven by humans. The algorithms are driven by humans. And therefore, it's artificial. It will never be the real thing. And I think we must be mindful of that, especially when you also look at things that are happening in the metaverse, where destinations are playing in the metaverse, and people need to actually go in and see and experience that destination for real. And again, all of us in tourism know what makes a destination is its people. That is at the core of everything. And unless we're going to start putting robots that look like humans somewhere, I think by that stage, you and I won't be around. But again, it requires humanity to put the humanness into these artificial intelligence things to a point where it doesn't supersede humans, and hopefully it doesn't have all our foibles, which I think is probably part of it. But again, that makes us human. So it's always going to be that philosophical debate between artificial and real.
But you understand from that point of view. But people losing jobs, it's becoming a bit more real because of ChatGPT. A lot of big companies, tech companies, are now freezing. I just saw an article, I think this morning, where can't remember the company. It said it put on freeze new recruitments because they think some of these jobs can be taken by AI tools. Freelancers are, one of the copywriters are getting impacted hugely because ChatGPT, spits out anything you want in a few minutes, what used to probably take a day or half a day, So in the travel industry, is there a concern, do they understand, or, is there a concern of loss of jobs and things like that? Or potential loss of jobs?
I think it's a reality. I mean, like you said, you've seen it with the advent of the internet. With many years ago, people said, then you've got libraries that don't exist anymore because everything's on Google, and then you've got, where the video stores are no longer required, and you've got Netflix. I think the thing is that that's the part of evolution. Things will change, and jobs will no longer be what they used to be. I think what, like I said earlier on, was incumbent on us, and the challenge is always is that when you've got an only for-profit mindset, and it comes at the cost of your people, and where organizations and destinations talk about our people are everything at the center of our success, and the first thing they start doing is not working and upskilling their people to embrace this new thing, but rather just cut jobs because they need to make shareholders viable. I think for us, that is, again, the human weakness. And that's something that, of course, we can't replace. But I do think, again, as much as there's those jobs that are no longer required, or there's other opportunities that are created in it. I mean, when you look at social media, who would have thought that influencers would be a job that people are actually making a living from? Who would have thought that playing games would get you a job? So I think we mustn't forget that even though you may not be doing one thing today, the one thing is that you need to always upskill yourself no matter what job you're in. Otherwise, even my job is going to be replaced by a bot one day, because really, what do I do as a CEO? I give instructions. Well, hey, the bot can probably do that faster, smarter, and also have the answer. So I think, again, at the end of the day, it's about understanding these trends, understanding the impact it's going to have on your business or your destination, understanding it, and then seeing how best to leverage it, but then building your plans around the upskilling of your staff. Not always having to say, well, let me just replace them because it's going to make my bottom line look good. It will get to a point of where even you as the decision maker will be replaced by a bot if that continues. So I think, again, this becomes a challenge. There is always a concern around the loss of jobs. But I think after the pandemic, one of the things we're finding within the tourism sector is actually we're struggling to fill jobs. So I think for now, where we are in the space, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of employment opportunities in the tourism sector. And the skills we hopefully bring on board are younger skills that embraces technology, that understands the technology, and actually can create value for businesses, not just the big corporates and the airlines, but also those smaller businesses, those guest houses, those B&Bs, those tourist guides who don't have technical skills, who are afraid of the technology. This could be a great way for youth employment to come in and actually use these tools to make businesses faster, smarter, and compete sometimes with those bigger businesses that are still clunky with outdated systems and have to go through many boards to make a decision. And I think, again, there's always opportunity. So it depends on how you look at it. And again, this requires education, awareness, and addressing these things head, immediately, rather than kind of just having it mill around as if we're going to put our heads in the sand and hope that AI disappears tomorrow.
I think, you mentioned, let's stay on the positive side of the story. As a destination, you manage one of the top destinations in the world. Where do you think destinations should put some focus on in terms of using ChatGPT or AI tools in general? Where should they sort of, as through some of the things that you have done, what should be, where is the best return of investment, at this moment? Of course, things can change.
Sure, Fazal. Yeah, I'm at least struggling with the questions, but let me give it my best shot. Let me rather talk about from a point of view of Cape Town tourism, because it may be able to assist in answering the question. So what we've done is that we've used some AI tools, and again, very rudimentary. It's not the chat GPTs. We're still trying to figure that out. I mean, we are still trying to redevelop our website for e-commerce. I mean, it's that rudimentary. And we've also tried to build in, of course, IRC chat into our website. So as much as it's there, what we are still needing to do is understand what value ChatGPT is going to create. But where we have used artificial intelligence well is in data analysis and predictive modeling. So by finding sources like, let's say, forward keys, OTA, online travel agent data, consolidating that, using that and analyzing the data, we can actually forecast based using their tools of ticket sales that have already done from source markets, when are they coming, which market, and what are they interested in. So we can then, of course, design itineraries, design capacity around managing it from a destination perspective. And we can also target people in that same markets when we start seeing, but for example, why are people from the United States, the East Coast, interested in coming to Cape Town at this time of year? Because we've seen ticket sales go up. So I think what we're doing is we're starting to analyze the data that we do have. We're using forecasted ticket sales from sources that allows us to look also at events or where we need to host them, that speaks to our market. So that's how we've been using it to a large extent, but it's not yet to that level where it's automated, where it's starting to analyze and then making recommendations to us. So we still have to analyze, apply our minds, and use our own expertise and experience to be able to leverage that for a marketing campaign, etc. But like I said, we've also tried to create our own avatar using artificial intelligence and machine learning with a partner. The biggest challenge for us was cost. These tools are great, but it's going to come at a cost. It's also about finding the right talent that can not only develop and implement these tools, but to maintain it over time. And I think none of us actually understand the total cost of ownership of these things, how it's going to integrate with existing systems, the cost behind it. So long story short, there's lots of questions that still need to be answered from a Cape Town tourism perspective, but it doesn't stop us from dipping our toes into it. A good example is we also, based on our data and analysis and predictive modeling, we understood that millennials and from German and USA were opportunities for us because we were seeing that on our social media, we were seeing that in the forward bookings, and we felt that we needed to speak to them to convert those that haven't considered the destination. And then we built a game as a marketing campaign, and we created 3 digital avatars that were personas of people that could choose. And behind it, we built itineraries and Expedia in the back end to actually do the sale. So we are also dipping our toes into kind of the metaverse gamification because we understand that's where the market is shifting to. And if we don't shift to that market and understand that market and work within our means and our skills and expertise, we're also then going to be wasting our time and effort. So we have to be very considerate about it. So yes, we dip our toes in, we play around with a few things that are different, trying to attract different markets, using predictive modeling and data to make informed decisions around destination management. But again, it's all just different systems that we're trying to pull together. But at the core of it is humans using the experience to make informed decisions. And at some stage, we'll probably start using these tools, but again, for the right reason, not just because it's cool and trendy.
True. I mean, some of the tools that of course, because we have a consumer platform, HalalTrip, so we sort of try to understand what's going on, and I think when it comes to, especially when it comes to content creation, the AI tools are doing a huge job in terms of both, not only just text content, but also creative content, images, and even videos. I think now you have tools where you can just tell the tool, give a script and it's producing the video. That's deepfake is a different thing, but here you just give them a script and give me a video of the 3 places to visit in Cape Town, and it can do a video for you. So, so Thanks, Enver. So I think it was it was good to hear from a destination point of view. As you said, we are all in the beginning phase of it, and as we probably move forward, we'll learn more and more. Any final thoughts on not just AI tools? How you see destinations evolving in the next phase of as we got out of one challenge, COVID. Now we are of course facing another AI challenge. But how do you see the future of travel?
I think for me, the future of travel is bright. I mean, I think we've gone through enough lows as the sector over the last couple of decades, and tourism still continues to be resilient. And I know people are tired of that word resilient, but we prove it time and time again. And I think for me, the key trends, besides kind of artificial intelligence, chatbots, and all the other things, of course, is authenticity of destinations and probably collaboration between destinations. We need to build on velocity of travel between destinations. Instead of competing, we can cooperate and collaborate. And you're going to start seeing super brands of destinations starting to work together. And it's not just kind of these signing agreements between politicians that they love doing, and then nothing comes from it. It's actually when DMOs are starting to understand and say, actually, we need the plane to be filled in both directions for us to win.
Right.
How do we do that? How can I work with you to understand your consumer so I can attract them? And I think this is also where we're utilizing our own neural networks, our own environment, our own ecosystems of tourism, and building newer ways of collaborating. But I think also when the chips are down is how those destinations can support each other. And I think for me, that's critically important, because we realize is that this world is super connected, not just from an internet perspective or digital, but also I think from a humanity perspective. And where the world finds itself now, I think tourism remains that beacon of hope. And the more we can elicit people to visit our countries and we put the best of humankind forward all the time, it will hopefully change some of that negativity in the world to being something always positive. So yeah, we've got to see this role to play. I'm very philosophical today, just demonstrating my humanity. And I think, let's just continue to fight the good fight using tourism as a vehicle for change. But super brands of destinations are going to be key. Submersive travel is still there. Responsible travel is still going to be a priority. Okay. And again, these are nothing new. But I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination. But that's kind of the way I see things unfolding at this stage.
Last question, Enver. So, after pandemic, you said we had a discussion just before that, your international travelers are coming back. Do you see a change in their behavior, or is it the same thing that they are continuing to do like pre-pandemic? Is there more technology involved, more behavioral changes? And what do you see?
I think what I do see kind of going forward is that the rate of growth will slow down. It has to. It can't keep up with the pent-up demand, because I think if you also look at oil prices globally, it's going to affect the cost of travel, and only those that can afford will do so, which again is beneficial from a domestic and staycation perspective. So again, it's how you reposition your brand and your destination to make sure you are always kind of leveraging the opportunities of your markets. I do think that it will slow down, but not to, and travel behavior has changed anyway. It continues to change, it continues to evolve. I think what we need to do is to continue to monitor it and understand it. But more importantly, to match it with who our destination DNA is. What I'm always concerned about is that we chase volume for the sake of wanting to prove our numbers, and we don't understand the impact it has on the authenticity of our destination. Because once you start having a Disneyland everywhere in the world, then is that true to who your destination is? So our job is always to protect our culture. We understand that there's a need for evolution, but what we can't do is it mustn't come at the cost of what makes us authentic in our core of our DNA as a destination. And that's always going to be their balance. But so for us, it's the slowing growth rate, maintaining authenticity, and of course, then utilizing tools in a smarter way that amplifies that authenticity and adds value to it, and not take the value away from it.
Great, thanks, Enver. It was great to hear you, and thanks for sharing those insights and expertise. And wish you all the best for Cape Town. It's time that I also probably visited. It's been some time since I visited. You should come here to Singapore as well. Thanks a lot for spending your time with us today.
Thanks again. And yeah, definitely. We must definitely get you back here, and I will definitely come to Singapore. I will be at your next conference. Either me or robot.
Okay, so I'm sure the audience gained, good understanding of, what are the challenges, especially from, destinations are facing in terms of the role AI is playing, or could play. It definitely will revolutionize the way that we experience and promote travel in the not too distant future. So as we move forward, let us continue to explore. We probably have to embrace the possibilities that AI tools can bring, but there's no way that we can run away from it. We have to keep addressing the challenges and stay on top of it, probably. So once again, thanks for all the audience who have joined us for today and for this very thought-provoking discussion. We wish you all the best as you continue to navigate the landscape of travel industry getting back after the pandemic. Please join the other exciting sessions at the Halal and Travel Global Summit, and wish you all the best. Thanks. Bye.